Hello, folks.
Hello.
Welcome to what will be our last talk of the season.
Yeah.
This tea that we're having today is Lapsang Souchong, or also sometimes go by the name of Zhanchao Zhaozhang. It's black tea, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of it, and share it and talk about drinking it, as well as other teas in the same vein, as well as just generally talking tea in general, and be happy to answer any questions overall. We're just waiting for our water to finish heating up.
Yeah. We have a nice pile of dry lapsang. When we look at it, it's a pretty small leaf.
It is a Samica varietal. No,
it's not.
Sinensis, yeah.
This is a sinensis varietal tea. Typically, lapsang versus Zhanchang Zhaozhang. Lapsang be slightly lower quality. It'll be like smaller leaf. Zhanchang Zhaozhang will be higher quality, slightly larger leaf. But that's not to say that this is not delicious.
Yeah. We're brewing with about 90 degrees centigrade water today, so kind of just off boil, which is also just a good habit to be into for the vast majority of Chinese black teas.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to like that high hot water.
Yeah, not too hot.
Yeah,
but they don't scald.
Yeah, they're not easy to scald.
Yeah, some of them do.
So Lapsang is possibly one of the progenitors of black tea in China, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's also one of those teas that has, as many teas from the same era do, interesting stories about how they came about. And whether or not they're true or not really sure.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter either. Hate to let facts get in the way of a good story.
Mm-hmm.
The story is that this tea was produced in this mountainous region by farmers who were getting in their harvest for the year, their tea harvest, and the leaves were wet, and there was an invading army coming through, and the farmers set their tea over smoking piles of wood to try to speed it up. Hence the smoking nature of this tea. There's also other stories of, along the same vein, that it was the invading forces setting fires to things.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, one of the biggest notes of Lapsang or of Zhanchao Zhaozhang is that it's a smoked tea. You're introducing a smoky flavor to it. At the best of times, that's a nice woody note. At the worst of times, it's an ashtray.
Mm-hmm. Definitely had
or
not great tea.
Feeling like you just cleaned out a wood stove.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend who described it as what it smells like when her firefighter father comes home from a fire.
Yeah.
Which, depending on what's burning, yeah.
Today, this one, not like that,
No.
Which is nice. It's got this nice roasty, toasty notes.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a little bit of a hazelnut note from it as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then sweetness of a caramelized or a burnt sugar, which is coming through.
I'm also getting a little bit fruity notes, almost plum under all the smoke. It's fairly complex under the smoke, so more lightly smoked versions of this tea tend to be a little bit sweet, which is nice.
Yeah, I think it works really well. It's another tea that I think pairs really well with late meals. Mm-hmm. So this with a bowl of rice, topped with some gamasio, would be really shine through.
Yeah, also works well as a digestive.
Mm-hmm.
Help settle the stomach. Smoky things are pretty good at that.
Yeah. What else can we say about this tea today?
Well, it comes from the Wu Mountains, which is famous for a lot of different teas, particularly blacks and oolong. Also, Wu teas tend to have some minerality notes in them because of the earth that
the
goes
rocky
in.
kind of cliff face of the Wu Mountains, which is northeastern.
I think it's southeast.
Sorry, I'm thinking within the province that it's in.
Oh, I'm thinking country.
You're thinking country, which is it's on the southeast, kind of across the way from Taiwan. But within the pocket, the Wu Mountains are up in this area.
Yeah.
Anywho, geography is fun.
Yeah. What is interesting about the origins of this tea is that the origin of the town that this tea comes from, Tongmu, is that it was founded in a valley like deep in the mountains to try to escape the militarism of the Ming Dynasty. So it is really interesting that the next time supposedly that they encountered the military resulted in the creation of this delicious tea.
Yeah. This is also an instance of a black tea where you'll generally get, I find, not more than 3 or 4 good infusions out of it. It tends to give up relatively early compared to some other teas.
Yeah. And that just has to do with the processing of it.
Yeah. There's a lot more oxidation that goes on, and there's less to draw from.
Yeah. But so we're on our second infusion. It's now on a pretty dark amber color. Here, I'll use this white backdrop. It was more of a gold on the first infusion, and it will be darker still probably for the third infusion. And then if we get to the fourth one, it'll be light again, showing that it's starting to be done and fully brewed and infused. Definitely a good winter tea.
Yeah, we've just had a snowstorm relatively recently, and this definitely is a good tea to cozy up to. If you've got a fire, cozy up with a fire next to a fire.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, look out and watch the snow fall and be nice and warm on the inside.
Yeah. And as we've talked about throughout all of these tea talks, just tea in general can be a nice kind of contemplative moment to look at the weather and enjoy the weather from inside, and just kind of slow yourself.
Yeah.
For what's going on around you.
I always like to remind folks that tea is an agricultural product. So there is a lot of seasonality to it. And drinking tea with the seasons helps emphasize each flavors of the tea and the essence of each season.
Kind of brings you back to focus a little bit, especially as we live in spaces that we climate control. Being able to bring some of that into ourselves, I think, kind of helps our circadian rhythms and kind of remind ourselves how the seasons roll around. And just kind of sits a little easier that way. I don't have a whole lot today overall with this tea. This does definitely go back as a tea that I've had time and time again. It's definitely a tea that I come back to. Kind of like an old book. Like, it's very comforting, and I mean it tastes like an old book too, in the best possible terms. Like
if you ever smell a good old book, this is the taste.
Yeah.
If you could lick an old book, and not feel gross about
And,
it.
if you could do that, don't do that.
Yeah. This is one of your favorite teas, right?
Yeah. When it's good, it is.
Yeah.
Which this definitely falls under the category of. It is definitely one that if I've gone to a shop and they've got it on a menu, I'll order it. And I then have a pretty good holistic picture in my mind of what all the other offerings of teas are going to be like based off of the quality of this tea. And I think that's really because there's such a wide marketplace for Lapsangs. Like they wholly cross the gamut. So you can get really tasty ones, you can get really kind of bitter ones.
Yeah, the Lapsang that a shop chooses to sell really shows what they're looking for in tea and what quality they find acceptable.
Yeah. Or it can. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes there's just a bad year.
Yeah. That happens.
Yeah, because agriculture.
And that's definitely a good contemplative tea, which I think is one of the reasons why we chose it for the last tea that we're sharing in this way with everyone.
Yeah, it is a little difficult to drink this tea quickly or to want to, because then you really only get hit with the smoky notes and it could be a little intense. Like really going slow helps.
Yeah, it's a good one to ponder. Yeah. What's your feeling on this tea overall, Chase?
I enjoy it. It's not a tea that I remember I enjoy because the smokiness can be a bit much for me at times. I usually prefer either sweeter teas than this or earthier teas than this. Smoky is a little bit of a difficult.
Kind of is in that uncanny valley.
Yeah, and it. I also have a little bit of a burnt tongue right now, so it's sitting a little funny on my mouth. But I do enjoy it when I remember that I enjoy it and remember to drink it. And I did have this tea is really good for blends as well. I have found I had a delicious blend with Lapsang a few days ago from one of our friends. And I have also seen that it works well as a substitute for liquid smoke in cooking. This is a very dynamic tea.
Yeah. As you speak about blends, Lapsang's one that you may have come across, or that folks may have come across previously in something called a Russian caravan, or sometimes it can be used as a base in like an English breakfast or an Irish breakfast tea, because it can bring a lot to it without being particularly overpowering.
Yeah, if you like tea blends like one of the breakfasts or Russian caravan, those are the big ones. Look into what teas make up those blends and try those teas on their own, because that will lead you to some flavors that you don't always pick up in the blends. And it's nice to kind of see where things started.
Now, I think there's been a number of teas that we've shared, and I'm now trying to go back and try to think if there's any that are popping into my mind as like, oh, I really wish to have that one again, or what have you, or oh, I wish that was a topic that we were able to explore more. And I think for as short as a period as we had, we were able to cover a lot of ground.
Mhm.
So I'm not really hitting a whole lot of oh, if only moments,
Yeah.
which is nice.
I'm kind of tempted to just travel this journey again with each of the teas that we have presented in the subscription.
Yeah.
And, we started in March and we're ending in February. So, starting with the show that we had in last March and see like how that tastes after tasting the Lapsang, and just continuing down that line.
Yeah.
And exploring similar teas during the month of like, okay, this is the tea that we talked about this month. What other teas are there that have this feeling?
That pick up on those notes.
Because I think we did a pretty good job at bringing seasonality into our presentations, which is something that I try to be mindful of with my personal tea drinking. Of like, sometimes I really am craving like a dark, heavy tea in summer, but that's not always the natural time for it. And, want to respect the fresh teas.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm really thinking about also is just with all of these teas, it's been so nice to share them with everyone. We've gotten some really great questions. And it's been really fun to answer those when we knew the answers, and it's been even greater of a joy to not have the answer and have to go down that rabbit hole and then get back to some folks about things.
Yeah. It was a fun excuse to learn more about tea.
Exactly. It was nice to have a focus rather than a giant swath of things.
Yeah, because you can say like, oh, I want to learn more about tea, but then if you don't have a specific question or a specific tea to look into, it can be just overwhelming of like, where do I start? What do I want to learn? What resources are good? But yeah, it was definitely a really fun experience.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well.
It's been a fun journey to have. And I'm sure there'll be more like it in the future. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
I think that about does it for us this evening. This was a little shorter than we intended, but such is the way of things sometimes.
Yeah. It was a good amount of time to sit with tea, though.
Agreed. And as always, it's been so great sitting with all of you, sharing tea, sharing information. And please continue to drink tea. Please keep having good conversations. And we look forward to having more conversations and more tea with more folks in the near future.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.